All right. Hello to any replayers. If you're a replayer, you can still participate. You can tap on the screen for hearts. You can share. You can follow. You can find me on Twitter and on Snapchat. Hello, Ludwig 2012. And you can ask me questions there. I love answering questions, especially on Snapchat. It is so easy. All right, for everybody that's joining me live, crazy hair. Actually, I need to stand because I need to be more ergonomic. Hi, Sparky girl. Hey, Angie, once 1977. Hi, the sport lady. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Oh my God, it's crazy hair before I go working out. Hi, Melissa. Hi. So, if you're new to me or revisiting, my name is joannazarach. Hello. I do a money habits broadcast every single day, 7 days a week. And I talk about developing better money habits. There's some practical ways. There's some practical ways in which you can just take control over your money. And the thing that I'm trying to get people to do, why 7 days? Why 7 days a week? Why all the time? Money doesn't sleep, and habits are easiest when they're like on a schedule. So every time you have a habit means you don't have to decide. You're not going to say, oh, you know what? I keep forgetting to look at my money, right? I keep forgetting to do this. Oh, I keep putting it off. When you have a habit, it's not something you need to decide. We only have so much willpower, and we only have so much, especially when things are hard, we tend to avoid them. So when it comes to money, what I'm finding is most people have like head in the sand attitude, and money happens to them every day. Yeah, just for 2 minutes. I say use mint.com, which is a free web-based app, to aggregate all your finances. So you don't have to log in and out of all your accounts or see there. Just use an aggregator, right? So it's one place where you look at it. It's like a calendar, right? Like if you try to keep track of all the things that's going on in your life, it's too hard, right? Like if you're like, oh, let me check that email. When is that appointment again? When you have a calendar, hello. Hi, everybody's joining. If you're new to me, my name is joannazarach. I do a daily money habits broadcast. This is where you're joining in, 10 a.m. every single day, 7 days a week. And I'm just talking some of the practical ways. But the other thing I talk about is also like your relationship with money and your money mindset. Like, what is your money for, right? If you've been on any of my broadcasts before, you know that I'm a big fan of the Maslow Pyramid. You can Google it. You can look at it. We're going to go through that. And so Maslow Pyramid is, it's kind of an advanced version for me of like where you are in life and how you spend. The reason I want everybody to examine their money habits and their money, and you do it by just looking where your money is going, is that it reflects subconsciously or unconsciously your values. And sometimes your values are not something that you've chosen. It's something that's been chosen for you, right? That's why when you become more conscious and conscientious about money by looking at it and going, what is it that I'm doing with my money? Why am I not accomplishing my goals, right? Because this is really what it's about. At the end of the day, money is just a means to accomplish your goals. And the thing is that like, I've been reading a lot of historical stuff, so maybe this is getting like a little out there, but reading the history of the wealth inequality, right? Why am I doing here? Why am I here every day? Because wealth inequality is a huge, huge issue, right? This is like, we're seeing this in our political race. We're seeing it in the world. We're seeing it. Hello, did you see the Panama Papers? What are the wealthy doing? The wealthy are preserving their ability to stay above the law. Stay outside the law, stay outside of the participation of the system. So here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to recognize that they need to take more control, right? If you're not part of the wealth, you need to take more control over your money, because otherwise the money is controlling you. And so I'm trying to get people to give them practical tools to do just that. You need to look within yourself and your spending habits to figure out how are you not getting to your goals. The reason I use Maslow's pyramid What's a good way to invest with little money? So I know starting to invest with a small amount is very difficult. Why? Is because a lot of things that are accessible to people require a little bit more, like $1,000, some places minimum. Here's a couple places where you can start investing. First of all, just put aside money, like designate it, like your investment account, right? Most people want to be like, I want to get a return with my $50, right? I get it. We're in a low savings environment. Transactions to buy into things sort of cost money. But here are some things. Acorns is an app that will let you do micro investments. Digits, also an app that'll build up your saving. I mean, the best thing you can do is to take advantage of some of the tax deferred accounts. Great. So yeah, you got excellent. See, look, someone taking action. I'm very proud of you for going in and just starting, right? It's 2%. It's not going to make you rich, but what it's going to do is give you a sense of empowerment, and you've taken some steps, right? So you can open that IRA at your bank and build up that amount. And when it's big enough, you can say, you know what, now I can step up. Everyone wants to get to like the finish line or to the advanced class, right? You're welcome. So Candy has also, Candy Thorne, I know I call you by your usernames because it's easier. So Candy Thorne has been asking, she also wanted to know how to invest this small amounts. And so there are some mutual funds that'll let you do that. USAA has a low minimum if you do a recurring thing. In Vanguard ETFs, which are in the brokerage account, it's the best you're going to get in the savings environment, 2%. What you want to do is you want to build up that amount pretty rapidly so you can convert it to a higher return investment like mutual funds within Vanguard. The other thing that's really important to do is take advantage of tax deductions. When you're cash flow challenged, and cash flow challenge just means you don't have enough money to meet all your goals, like investing goals and saving goals and repayment goals, means you have to be smarter about taxation. Anyhow, yes. Great. That's right. So your credit unions with an IRA, combine the power of taxation. And thank you for sharing, Anthony. You guys, if you're not following Anthony, he's also doing great messages around the same things. There's so many of us talking about the same things. Please listen to the growing voices of people who are advocating for everyone to take control over their financial lives and support each other. So, so Maslow's pyramid, let me just talk about what are the building blocks if you're not familiar. It's basically like, are you meeting your needs? It's a progressive need. Here's why I talk about it, because in contrast to what you're hearing out there, that somehow like the economy's coming down and we're running out of stuff, it's just not true. So bet your bank won't be able to do a higher interest rate, but what you're doing is you're accumulating, you're building your base, and then you can switch it in. When is the best time to get an IRA if you already have a max 401k going? So if you have a max 401k going, which is $18,000, if you can, it's based on your income level. Do you qualify? Some 401k, like having a 401k, I know disqualifies you from some tax deferred or tax deduction. Just keep building it. Build it up to 1,000, and then try to see if you can if you roll it over to Vanguard, right? Like that's my thing. You're going to have to want to participate in the capital markets. Look at IRAs. The other thing is if you maxed out your 401k, which means you're in a pretty good financial situation, I would really look at starting some side income and side businesses. Just start investing in yourself as an asset generation. And then you can look into an individual 401k, which will give you a greater amount to do tax deferred. But if you already have a 401k, starting an IRA right away. I have a 401k, I have an IRA, I have, if you have kids or if you want to continue your education, a 529 plan can be good depending on what state you live in and whether that's tax deductible against your state income. So there are other things, there are incremental things that you can do. Right after. I would say if you can roll over, because if you're meeting minimums, like look at Vanguard and start planning, right? You got to make a plan because you got to get excited about investing in a mutual fund that's going to get you more than 2%, right? And again, remember, those are long-term returns. So I would say, as soon as you hit your minimum, right? Because one of the issues was you didn't have enough to just get invested immediately into a mutual fund. That's why you're building up your IRA. I think once you hit 1,000, you should have a plan for when you do it, when you hit 1,000. excellent, like build it up and then say convert to a higher return, right? Because once you have that minimum, you can keep adding to it to be invested in that, and then you want to keep adding to it pretty rapidly because a lot of the when you do some automated stuff, they do a lower fee, but if you're also so that's what I would say. Okay, back to Maslow's pyramid. All right. You're gonna open it with Vanguard and you're gonna use a rollover form. So that's how you would do it. So you would go to Vanguard and Vanguard would take the money out. So a good business to start with a lower investment, you're welcome. I would say that there's really good experts on this, and I would start with listening to Pat Flynn in Smart Passive Income. Guys, digital space is a very low cost investment. Brick and mortar stores, retail operations, they're all capital and cash flow heavy. And so when you're just starting, start somewhere. Good morning. Start somewhere where you can make money. Right? Start somewhere you can sell something. And if you don't yet have skills, go learn from somebody, right? Go see what you're good at, right? And then see if you can do that. But Pat Flynn with Smart Passive Income, that guy has so many ideas and he's so transparent, and his guests on the blog, he asks very insightful questions by saying, how much do you get for that? How much do you pay for that? So so whatever it is you're going to do, start selling your time. You can just sell your time at first. Whatever exchange can happen on the side, right? Do you have any assets, property assets, etc.? So anyhow. Maslow Pyramid. Okay, focus. So Maslow Pyramid has 5 levels. So the base of the Maslow Pyramid is physiological needs. And one of the things that I start questioning people is saying, as we go along our journey in life and as we gain income, most people just upgrade. Find a business to duplicate, right? Find scalable businesses. Sometimes when people are just starting out, you're right. That definitely duplicates. And then also look at some, people always wanting to come up with the brightest idea. But sometimes it's just do something that works, right? Like find something, and there's only so many business models, right? Service models or labor differential or, whatever, start reading business books. But you go ahead and give the folks some examples. I mean, I'm in a services business, right? Professional services is very high profit business, but it's not scalable, right? Yes, leverage, right? You need to get leverage if you're going to scale it, or you need to get leverage through automation as well. The digital world has given us a lot of leverage. So learn digital. Anyway, once you have physiological needs met, what happens is, and the physiological needs, literally physiological needs. Examine how much you're spending, how much of your budget is going to food, water, shelter, clothing, and sleep. Right? What are you doing? Because what happens is, as you get more and more money, people just upscale, right? They're like, oh, I have more money. Let me spend more on my basic needs by getting more expensive foods, by getting a bigger house, by buying, upgrading all these things, by consuming, right? And so what I'm trying to, again, the message, the underlying message, I'm trying to get people from a consumer mindset to an investor mindset. And investing is not just, I talk a lot about market investing, but also invest in yourself, in your time, in your health, in your just mental well-being, because you are the biggest income generating asset, but a lot of times you're generating income for other people. So so examine it, right? Again, the exercise is to examine how much are you spending and what proportion of your spending is going to your physiological needs, and do you really have to, right? This is the whole thing. I talk a lot about financial freedom. Financial freedom is not feeling like you have to do something for someone or for money, but being able to get to the point where you feel like, whether through a business that you've built or assets that you've leveraged, it's going to require some work, or maybe even, if you're lucky enough, a trust fund that you can live off of, that you don't worry about that, right? But that any amount of money can be spent. That is not creative. That is not innovative. I do 10% taxes, only 10% taxes. I like to live off of even less of my income. I live off of a small amount of my income. Actually, here's the thing. My my lifestyle, the Panama Papers. I mean, like, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised that the wealthy are skating? Like, I talk about the 5 levers of wealth building, right? Income, taxation, investing, big purchases, and risks. Hello, taxation. Oh, wait, let us all skirt the law and not get taxed at all. Gee whiz, let's get everybody else to pay for all the services. Because, by the way, our way of life is not sustainable on taxing earned income alone. This is the problem. So, slightly different topic, but taxing earned income in a world where jobs are becoming less and less important, like in the U.S., most of the jobs created are low level paying jobs, right? Why? Because, guys, this is the whole point. There is enough of everything. The physiological needs that I'm talking about: food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. We have enough for everyone in the U.S. If you haven't gotten the memo, our population is shrinking. We are not reproducing as much. We are not that overwhelmed with people. The message is from the rent seekers, right? People who are like, oh, like all of this stuff costs money. You're like, actually, the costs have gone down a lot. 97% of the population is not farming anymore, right? Like, how many farmers do you know? How many farmers do you know? How many people do you know that are actually producing food? I don't know any. I mean, I know people who have a garden, but they're not feeding people. Why? Because we've eliminated those jobs. So don't listen to people. We're going into the change. It's actually a shift, right? And here's the thing. You need to recognize that shift. You need to take an interest in the economy. You need to take an interest in, that's why people need to start paying attention. You need to take an interest, in the economy, in industries, in changes, all that. So, anyway, the physiological needs, by the way, stop spending so much money on it. There you go. Yeah. Jeff, sounds like Jeff knows a lot about business and he's an entrepreneur. So here's another person, right? Like, I just do service businesses. And I talk about money. Like, to make an income, go to other people. They have way more knowledge on it. What I talk about is managing your money, right? Managing your money, and like being more thoughtful and conscientious. Like, you can't let money happen to you, especially if you're a business owner. You know that if you just let other people, like, if you let money just if you never pay attention to it, you're not going to be profitable. I know so many business owners like, oh, I just really want to outsource that. It's like, if you don't know how money moves, you're never going to hold on to it. So physiological needs, examine how much of your money goes towards physiological needs. The next is safety and security. So it's funny because when I think of safety and security, I think of my home, but it's more like the neighborhood I live in, right? So we all can afford a shelter. By the way, if you're willing, this is where you go. If you've moved around, you know that like cost of living is not what you think it is. It's just very dependent on where you're willing to live. Yeah, so it depends on where you're looking at. So some people on money investing. So on the web, Todd Tressler, financialmentor.com. He's like a level 5 financial coach. That means like once you accumulated wealth, he can help you get better. But he's got such excellent blog content and very well distilled information. So go to financialmentor.com and sign up for his stuff. I like Mr. Money Mustache if you want to, frugal living. Jay Money does a lot of personal finance bloggers. On Periscope, you got Anthony Koopman. You've got you've got entrepreneurs, right? I talk about Pat Flynn on Smart Passive Income. I like Tim Ferriss. I like Gary Vaynerchuk on digital. I like the hustlers of the world, right? I like the hustlers and the givers of the world. There are more. Who am I missing that I read a lot? On here, Yes, I Am Cheap. CND does great content on producing Amazon income, the Budgetnista. Yeah, so there's a ton of people. If you go on Twitter, actually, it is really easy to find personal finance. Actually, if you find me on Twitter, I've been marking everybody in personal finance on a list. So if you go on my profile and you click on my lists, I think it's like Financial Revolution, and I have everybody on there. There's a ton of people. So keep mentioning. Yeah, Anthony, you probably remember as well. I'm trying to create a list. Anyway, safety and security. Okay. Health, employment, property, family, social stability. Think about how much are you spending on that. My Twitter's the same as here, joannazarach. Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Everyone is an expert coach, so you want to look at their track record and look at their own actions. I'm always like, look at what people do, not what they talk about, right? The reason I talk about the things I talk about because I do them, right? I manage my family's finances, and I have for the last 20 years. I have been investing since I was 22, and again, I call myself a conservative investor because I invest in the market. I'm a paper asset investor all the way, right? Why? Because I'm goddamn lazy. I don't want rental property. I don't not understand it. I don't like contractors. I don't like to manage people, right? So I play to my strengths, and then I teach you guys about it. I like tax laws, right? I like taxation and taking advantage of it. Now, I'm no fan of papers, right? I don't avoid taxes. I pay my goddamn fair share. Why? Because I have to, like, I need to contribute. I'm an immigrant and I love America, right? And so I want to contribute to the well-being of this country. I believe in public education, to gold. I'm not a big fan of gold, right? Okay. So I know like some people love gold. And I used to actually consult to a gold mining company, and when I like thought about their business model, it was just mind blowing. Gold is like intrinsically. I'm a business consultant. Gold is intrinsically like valueless, right? Like it's currency. It's currency. So I don't see a sense in it. It looks undervalued because how overvalued it got in the crisis, right? People went to gold because it was a panic, and then it was just like a crazy spiral. And at some point, people were like started selling. Gold itself doesn't have any value, right? Like, I mean, I think land is better, even though I'm not a real estate investor, right? I'd be like, maybe rents where you can collect it. Like, gold doesn't generate a return, right? It's pure speculation. So, because they're trying to, because their currencies and they're just unstable, right? Like their economies are built on not stable things, right? Like if you look at China, like their operations, their lack of safety, they're just like trying to become the US or the third, the more advanced world on the cheap. And it's going to bite them, right? And on labor. And they're really trying to leverage this like cheap labor and lack of regulation. And that's how they're getting through it. And it's going to, if you read about China's problems that are all emerging, they make fake food, for God's sake. I'll say I don't own any gold, and I will never own any gold. I just don't. That's just not my value proposition in terms of how I see it. Right? It is pure speculation. It's like buying insurance, maybe. But for me, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm just not. I just don't feel it. Right? So I don't do it. I can't recommend either way. I've never done it. Okay. Third is love and belonging. When the dollar is gone, where will it go? Like in terms of Bitcoin, right? Like I don't personally believe in the collapse of the American economy, right? If I did, I'd probably move back to Europe. I mean, what's like the apocalypse? I always tell people, okay, if you're apocalypse driven, have some skills that are outside of like computer skills. So I have computer skills, right? Like what's my value generation? There's a lot of change coming, but it's going to happen slowly, right? I have computer skills, right? I do Excel spreadsheets. You know what? When the apocalypse is coming, no one's going to be like, you know what? Can you calculate that for me? No one's going to care. So have some real skills, right? I'm always like, in addition to some knowledge work, have some real skills. Can you use power tools? Yes. Can you shoot a gun? Yes. Can you do surgery if need be in the field? I'm not surgically trained, but I have EMT training. I got that 20 years ago. I said, you know what? I want some real skills. I want some life-saving skills. So get yourself some life-saving skills on the weekend and learn how to use some power tools, and don't be intimidated, right? It's all the same. Learn the tools of the world and have value to contribute to people. Have compassion, for God's sake. So anyway, that's my currency hedge, because I don't believe in the fear mongering, right? Like unless we're really do, unless we continue to oppress everybody, a revolution will come. But as long as we can contain our civil society, like, what's going to happen? Like, Whole Foods is going to stop selling things? I don't know. I don't see the collapse in the US coming anytime soon. So I'm an optimist, though. I'm planning for the better, by the way. That's actually my motto, is plan for the better. I know. And it's like, you know what? Because it pisses me off, because you know what? Once you have $10 million, you're never going to run out. Yeah, but like, then I study human behavior and the desire of humans to like live a life of getting along and prosperity and contribution, right? So that's like, I don't know. I'm planning for the better. So I don't insure against it. I'm really like not, I don't know where the future is going to go, but I'm curious about it. I'm actually excited about the future. I think like the innovators and technology is awesome. So anyway, what was I saying on that? Yeah, so have real skills, right? Have real skills that are tradable, that will help people, right? Like, and have compassion for others. Oh yeah, the wealthy people. Once you have $10 million, like really, it's just like, you're just taking advice from people who benefit from you being wealthy, right? Like, that's the thing. There's industries created around making wealthy people feel like they need more, for that they make themselves feel, whatchamacallit, that feel themselves entitled or feel themselves scared, right? Like, it's just not real, right? Like, it's just not real. Like, am I ever going to run out of food? No. But you know what? Has that always been the case? No, because I grew up in communist Poland. Good. Yeah. Thank you for joining. So I know what not having things on my way. That was nicely said. To love and teach everyone. Yeah, like it's really, so yeah, the wealthy, I'm a little bit upset, and I feel like instead of hiding your money, you could use your money for good, right? Like, by the way, if you listen to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, the same thing. They're giving their kids 10 million because they're like, you know what? You will never run out of money with $10 million. That's just mathematically you won't. But you don't need any more. And, let's put that money to good. Let's save some lives. Let's value all the lives that are already in existence. Let's make the world a better place for the lives that are to come. And that's the thing. If you have skills that you can help other people with, why aren't you using them? And if the question is because you can't afford to, because no one's willing to pay you for those special skills you have, you got to work hard at figuring out how you're going to make it happen. How are you going to convert your effort today at a job to make that gift come out, to make you able to contribute your gifts to the world? Everyone should aim to do that. And that's why I'm here, because I want to try to help you see through your own bullshit. Pardon my French. So love and belonging. Okay, so we talked about, the 5 levels: physiological needs, safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So love and belonging, friendship, family, intimacy, and a sense of connection. The money that we spend in the world falls into one of those 5 categories. That's how I want you to do. I want you to examine your life in the 5. So it's going to be blurry for the Maslow Pyramid, but you can Google it. Let's see if I can get it a little bit. Okay. So basically, those are the 5, the base, right? Physiological needs. And this is time and money, right? How are you spending your time? How are you spending your money on a percentage? And because we talk about money, I want you to think about it. And here's kind of what I envision. This is in the Joanna world. Here's kind of how, what I want to figure out when in different, I'm like obsessed with the financial journey, right? Like, people are on the financial journey. What I want to see is, are people doing different, what I want to gather is, how are we using our money in those 5 categories throughout life and in our different financial stages, right? So this is kind of an example. I would love to see how these things change, right? Because I anticipate that these the 5 categories, as you see, I'm just making up examples. But what I want to see is actually examine my own spending in the past and graph it out, right? And to say, look, in this pyramid, where am I spending my money and how is it changing? Because what I want to do is I want to shift away from just expanding into these physiological needs, right? I think we overbuy on housing, we overbuy on food, we overbuy on safety and security. We have all of these beliefs around these first two things. And, the way that we overbuy is because we believe we're buying something in the other three. And this is, by the way, how advertising works. Advertising works by making you feel that you're buying into these things: friendships, family, intimacy, connection, right? What's Facebook, by the way? Facebook sells a sense of connection and has you give away information so that they can advertise to you products that may or may not be useful to you, right? Safety and security, again, we buy these things, and when you combine them out of two categories, that's when selling is most powerful. This is self-esteem. Are you buying these things? Are you spending time in them? And, how are you spending your money? When you're getting your confidence from a bigger house, when you're getting achievement out of a private school education, when respect of others comes because you have to buy a Tesla or a Lamborghini, right? Again, are you really needing to spend all your money on these things? Need to be unique and individual, or can you spend it on other people? And again, self-actualization, right? This is like the best place. If you have, this is like when you're buying coaching, right? This is life coaching. This is the explosion of therapy and coaching. You are buying those things. And not to say that some of these things aren't important, but you need to be very aware of how you're spending your money and your time. And is money really the right currency for you versus your time? So that's the, again, self-actualization. Let me go back to talked about. So physiological needs. So this is the exercise. So Tuesday I come up with a task. Really reflect, because I started putting these into my money that I spent in these categories. And some of them are hard, right? Because again, they overlap. But really say, or even do a portion. You know what? I have a house, but I pay a premium to live in a certain neighborhood, right? So that I can have access to, as a community. And, do you own your house or do you rent a house in here? What is it going to cost you? And part of it is, love and belonging, right? Are you throwing things, those birthday parties you throw or go to? Really, they are a sense of family and connection. So, what is it that you're buying with all your money? And this would help you plan. Again, what I'm trying to get to is get over people's objections that they can't do things, right? I battle this in my own life with my husband, where I'm like, really? Because you could go exercise, you don't have to go to work. You don't have to be so obligated to your job that you can't exercise and take care of your health. And, all of the things that I think are important, friendships. And I said, for me, there's no such thing as a 45-minute lunch. You have lunch with me, it's like 2-3 hours. Because I can't just like do that. And I don't have the restrictions. I've removed the restrictions of life by others. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to take this further. You guys think that I do this for your benefit. I do it for as much as my benefit because I hold myself more accountable when I'm trying to walk the walk. So tomorrow I'm going to figure out what are my charts and maybe try to recreate a little bit of how that's changed. I roughly have some memory of my finances in the past in each decade. Maybe that would be the different, either by 5 years, every 5 years, or every decade, to do this assessment and to see how is your money. How are your money priorities? How have your money priorities changed, right? And how much money did you spend on certain aspects of your life? And it's okay. It's not it's make yourself feel bad, but realize that you needed to spend that money to gain that self-esteem, right? You needed to gain that, spend that money to get that, to feel like you're accepted, right? How much money is spent on acceptance? It's ridiculous, right? And so, that's the thing. It's because we're being sold that. If you do this, if you just buy this pair of $200 sneakers, you're going to be accepted, right? And or somehow that spending money is an achievement, right? You've achieved. Look, you're going to have this nice car, and all you are is in the shackles of the owners. We talk about the owners occasionally. You guys know the owners. Look up George Carlin. He has a nice comedy routine about the owners. And the Panama Papers should make you very aware once again about the owners. and who owns you and who owns your time. And if you don't own it, ask yourself why not. Ask yourself, how can you invest in yourself, stock market, savings, whatever? How can you change so that you own your time and you own your money? Yeah, shift your money. Yeah, and that's what I've done. Like, why am I here every day on Periscope at 10 a.m.? Because I've made it my mission to be here, and I've allowed myself the time, because no one owns my time. No one's owned my time except for my children. Whew. My children now own my time, so I only do it when they're in school. And so do that. So yeah, so that's the bottom line. Figure out align your money and your, yeah, but you know what? That's the thing. You do like that's, and isn't it grand, by the way? Because again, I'm an immigrant, right? I lived in Poland during the time that it was communist, and guess what? We had a martial law when you couldn't leave your house after a certain time. You were not allowed to be on the street. So you don't know what it's like to feel like you can do whatever you want. And we have that freedom, and we should fight for that freedom, and then we should live the freedom, right? And so I want you to realize how much more available it is to you and I in the US here than a lot of other parts of the world. And so you're not, by feeling shackled and imprisoned, you're not living out the life as it truly can be. And that's what I'm like, all I'm trying to do is give people the sense that they can accomplish it, because I see so many people shackled by finances, by debt, by being indebted from the very beginning, by not having any safety nets. Yeah, no, it's totalitarian. Communism it was just a word over totalitarianism. Dictatorship, really. It's a way to control people. Like, the idea was to kind of make everybody equal, but that's not human nature, guys. That's not human nature, because when you give a few people power, they will abuse it. And so what happened was, in Poland didn't want to be controlled by Russia anymore, and that's what happened. Russia threatened to send in the Soviet army if the Polish government didn't address sort of the solidarity movement, the revolutionary talk. We're getting way off on the but I want you to sometimes get a sense of why I'm so passionate about it, because I lived through and I was a child, but I lived through an experience that's very different, and I've seen it. I've seen how bad it can go, right? So idea is not to create so much, unrest, where the government feels like they're gonna, come down and start arresting people for just being out and about. And that's what was the situation. But the alternative was worse. It was the Russian tanks invading. And we had Russian tanks already in Poland, by the way. There was plenty of Soviet army in Poland. And the government did the only thing that they thought possible to keep the freaking Russian army out of Poland. And by the way, they didn't keep the Russian army out of Afghanistan. Like, read your history, right? Like, everyone should really take some time to read history, to read about the historical movements, and not be so stuck in their own little bubble. The bubble of, like, you're being entertained, you're being distracted by entertainment, by the politics, the political circus that's going on right now. It's all a distraction to get you to riled up and stop and not pay attention. So pay attention, make the time, educate yourself, all these things, and you'll get more invested if you actually start shifting your money around. But examine where your money is going today, because you are not able to take any control over it if you're just letting everything happen to you. Okay, there was a little bit of a task and a little bit of a rant, but I know sometimes people ask about my origin, and your origin story does influence you a lot, because it's influenced me. Because why? I've seen, and it wasn't even that bad, right? Yeah, seriously, I feel like people are not reading. I actually learned a lot. I read a really long piece, I think it was in Slate, about the wealth gap, but also the history of the owners, the history of racial divides, right? The history of slave ownership versus the indentured servants, and how the division between the races was a tool used by the owners, by the wealthy, right? And you're like, really? And we're playing into this bullshit again? And so it's by whom? By the wealthy. Hello, Donald Trump. Like, let's keep the masses divided and feuding. They'll never notice we're stealing from them. Panama Papers, right? We're noticing the urge of transparency is out. Secrecy is over, guys. Secrecy is over. Like the message, the human voices are out. And choose who you're going to listen to, and then choose how you're going to act, right? That's all I'm doing. All I'm providing is a path. It's not the only path. It's just a path for you to start taking control of your money. And then I share everything that I do. Because everything I talk about, I do. Because tomorrow I'm gonna be trying to do like, how is my own spending? I've been examining my spending so much more intensely. Right. That's right. That's right. You have, it's a visceral experience, right? To have come from that and say, look, this is real shit. But the thing is though, that like the rhetoric today is trying to keep emphasizing the battles between the poor, the poor versus the poor, like who's poorer and whose fault is it? It's not the fault of the people who are trying to earn a living. It's the people who are trying to dodge taxes. I saw Bernie Sanders from 5 years ago talking about this shit in Panama. And they were like, this is on purpose. This is on purpose. We're trying to pass international treaties to protect the wealthy. And we are hurting ourselves as our country and our ability to provide good education for everybody. We should all be entitled to some education, some health care, some basic security. Guys, we have enough. Like we have, as a nation, we have enough. Not everybody has to get paid the highest rent for their property because they've happened to be the descendant of a slumlord. No, you don't have to collect rents. Yes, we should be able to house everybody. It's really not, they don't have to live in a luxurious condo, but everybody should have a room with a kitchen and a bed. It's just not, it's achievable. This whole like, how are we going to afford it? Well, you know what? I have an idea. There's a bunch of wealthy accounts, but we can't just tax earnings. We have to start taxing wealth, and we have to stop allowing the wealthy to just be like, well, I'm wealthy, so the laws don't apply to me, and my accountant said it was okay. Well, F you and your lack of morals. Okay, just getting off on a rant again, but that's how I feel about it, because I feel like read Abundance, by the way. Peter Diamandis wrote a book that really has set me on this path about a year ago or so, Abundance. And it's about how not just today, we already have enough of a lot of stuff, but in 5 to 10 years, we'll have enough of like medical tests for people and enough of like sustainable stuff. We're going to have enough. We already have enough, by the way. There's enough. There's enough food for everybody. There is enough shelter for everybody, and there's enough education for everybody. And it shouldn't be making people indentured servitude. It shouldn't be indentured servants. Your education shouldn't make you shackled to an effing job for the next 30 years. Okay, I'm gonna need a Valium or something. I need to calm down. I'm gonna need a little exercise after this, just to work through this aggression. Anyway, okay. So anyway, tomorrow we'll go through my Maslow graphs. I'm gonna see if I can recreate some of them as you go into the future and as you think about your future. Again, because what do I want to envision for each and one of you is financial freedom. And financial freedom is never having to worry about money ever again. And again, part of it comes from just spending less. Just examine your spending and say, could I live on $5,000 a month? Like, what's it going to take? What would it take for you to live a comfortable life for a very long time? And then count backwards, right? Do the math backwards and say, what's the pile of money that I would need? And again, I call it a pile of money, but you may have a passive income model or a business, some way of generated income that's enjoyable, by the way. And because I don't encourage idleness. Don't sit idle, right? Figure out how you can contribute. Don't be sitting around doing nothing. Figure out how you can contribute. But sometimes your highest contribution doesn't come with the highest income, and that's the equation that I'm trying to solve for. If you have figured out how to make some income, gather it up, save it in an investment account or invest in a passive income business, and then figure out how you can live off of it, so then you can take your time to contribute your highest value to the world. It's not just, doesn't have to be volunteering. Just create some new business model or some new service that's going to help someone or help somebody else, help someone out with your knowledge without expecting something in return. I know that's like a strange concept, but like, try it. You might like it. you know? But yeah, I know that people say, oh, I got bills to pay. But be honest with yourself about how many bills you need to actually pay. And be honest and be truthful and be transparent with yourself. That's why I do the Maslow Pyramid exercise. So tomorrow, because I've already started, I'm already cutting back on my spending because I'm like, man, yeah, I want to feel more free to give even more. Once again, today, someone asked me, say, I heard you're sitting down with people to go over their financial situation. Can you do that with me? I said, sold. Here's a date. Here's where we're going to meet. Boom. No money has to change hands for me to share my knowledge with someone for 2 hours and give them something. And guess what? If that person's better off after we meet, that I've accomplished something in life. I've accomplished something, and I don't need that. I just want them to be like, hey, you helped me, and I'm like, awesome. Awesome that I helped you, because now you can maybe help other people. And that's really all I'm trying to do. Yeah, you know, like that's what I do. Like literally, like this one lady, and she was like real hesitant at first to meet with her. Now she's referring me to every one of her friends. She's like, can you meet with another friend of mine? I'm like, sure. Like I want to get people out of their like financial lack of knowledge and lack of confidence, and get them to a point where I say, you're using your gifts to give to the world, like give more. Like they're photographers, happen to be photographers. It's like what I want to do is encourage them to maybe like photograph a family that can't afford it, right? Or like that's going through some troubles. You will, if you feel like you have enough. So here's the two things that happened. One is a couple years ago, I had this realization, like I was really anxious about making more money, right? Because I'm a consultant, I'm a highly paid consultant. I was just getting stressed because, you know, like I couldn't reconcile everything. And like, I just had this realization that I said, I have enough, like I have enough. And that's an amazing place to get to. I would love for everybody to get to a place where they feel like they have enough, because when you feel like you have enough, then you can give more. And now I'm getting like, I'm circling back, and you know what I'm feeling? Like I am enough. Like not just I have enough, that's possessions, but I am enough. Like I am enough, and what I give to people is of value. And I can't help everybody, but the people that want my help, I want to be able to help them, right? And I love teaching about money math. I call it money math. It's just math, like except with money. And people could really, you know, and people are grateful. And by the way, mostly women with kids who are really interested in doing better for themselves and their families. Anyway, rant over. Thank you everyone who stayed this long. It's amazing. I feel like I'm really grateful, because like when I started, I literally had to make myself do 10-minute broadcasts because nobody was on. And I did them every day anyway. I had 0 people, and I would just talk and talk and talk and talk. And I would come up with topics every time. And so that's the thing. I'm really grateful for the people that do stick around and do give me positive feedback. And you guys encourage me to come on. And again, it just could be one person, because I'm really trying to change this like one person at a time. And, you know, and eventually message will spread. And it's not just to spread just by me. I don't have to be the only source. I'm trying to get every person to change a little bit, and then it could influence someone else through their connections. And that's really, really important to me as well. Because I am an optimist, and I'm not buying gold, and I'm not hedging. I'm contributing. That's my hedge, I guess. So yeah, thank you. No, that's I'm so happy to hear that, because I think we feel trapped by money. I have very wealthy friends who feel trapped by money. It's sad because I feel like they can't be the best of themselves, because you're always like, when you get to this next level, which you realize that there are like 20 people above, like it's a comparison game. You're always going to lose, by the way. You're always going to lose the comparison game. Because the next level, someone's doing more. So someone's doing better than you. So don't play the comparison game. Yeah, the master of your time and money. That's right. That's like all we should aspire to be. But a lot of it is tuning out the messaging around you, and then aligning your behavior and where your money and your time is going. But being very thoughtful about it. I don't advocate for kind of this like, oh, you know, everybody quit your job and stop doing. And again, as you know, I don't encourage idleness. I'm like, I really, really want to help people who want to help others. I want to figure out how to do that through financial freedom. So It's very important to me because everyone has a gift and everyone can help people, even if it's just the people in your immediate family or in your surroundings. So, okay, I have gone on long enough. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I don't think I'll be on to. Yeah, I know I'm totally behind on my money matters because life has gotten busy, and today I have some birthday party for the kids, and so as you know, I try to always balance my my priorities. But I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And by the way, on Thursday afternoon, I'm going to be doing some demos because I'm doing a talk on Periscope in front of some business owners. I don't know how many. I'm guessing maybe 10, maybe 50 at this like social media conference in Normal, Illinois. So that'll be on Thursday afternoon. So for everyone that's following me, because I'm just going to use the regular sort of tweet out notifications just to show people how it works. So you'll be getting a lot of kind of non-money related Periscopes on Thursday afternoon. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we're going to continue on the Maslow allocation of where we spend our money and our time. Okay, bye.